You're only human. It's natural to question yourself from time to time. Are you finding yourself questioning your decision to invest in silver, to invest in gold, maybe even to invest in the precious metal mining stocks? Well, I have something I need to remind you of. I don't know if you're like me. I'm a slow learner and a fast forgetter. So every once in a while, I need to be reminded. I've got a big reminder for you. Also, super important, a guru talked about gold recently. And I'm not talking about some made-for-TV guru like Warren Buffett or somebody like that. I mean a real guru, like a real guru. We're going to talk about that as well. And finally, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, because there's a great big elephant in the room that will have a major impact on the price of the precious metals as we head through the end of this year. We're going to cover all that and a lot more. Let's go. We'd like to thank our sponsor, First Mining Gold. They're a Canadian gold developer with 2 world-class projects in Canada. They also have a handful of other projects. When you total up all the gold in their resources, it comes to over 12 million ounces. They're worth checking out. I'll put a link to the company's website in the description below. Do you have any cousins? Did you know that your cousin's children, those are not your second cousins? Your cousin's children are your first cousins once removed. Your second cousins, those are people that are alive in the world right now that share a great grandparent with you. Not a grandparent. You share a grandparent with your cousins. You share a common great grandparent with your second cousins. Why am I saying all this? Well, because for years I was always confused. I finally did the research and I wanted to share it with you in this video that's supposed to be, right? We're supposed to be talking about silver and gold, and we are. Don't forget, we've got these fascinating things to cover, but I have all these cousins and their kids. I always thought they were my second cousins. Then I started saying I'm your cunkle, your cousin uncle. Nonetheless, I have a first cousin once removed, one of my cousin's children that was involved in a horrible accident. Look, I don't ask you guys for a lot. There's no memberships. There's no dues. It's free for you to come to Ron's Basement. And it's always my honor to have you here. One of my cousin's children was involved in a horrible car accident back in March. There's a GoFundMe. They're trying to get her to a really good rehab center up in Chicago. If you want to do something nice, I'll put it in the description below. That's all on that. Don't you forget, and remember, this is good news, silver and gold look around the corner. They look out into the future. So while we've been struggling through a horrible 2-year period for the price of silver, for the price of gold, it's so important for us to realize that they look out into the future. The price now reflects what they see happening 6 months or a year, maybe 3 months from now. And guys, this is where the good news comes in. The gold price, the silver price have been so negatively impacted by this hawkishness from the Fed. How much more hawkish can they get? Look, and I've said this before, and I've been dead wrong over the last 6 months, so consider who you're listening to. But come on, man, how much more hawkish can Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve get? This latest congressional testimony that he gave whacked gold again, whacked silver again, but here's what I want to say. It's holding the line. Gold is hanging in there above $1,800 per ounce. Silver is fighting at $20 per ounce. If they can keep this fight up in this environment, which is right now uber hawkish, they're building a base from which they can explode. Now, let's talk about this guru. You don't have to be my second cousin to join me here in Ron's Basement here in Missouri. You're welcome here anytime. And I appreciate that from wherever in the world you are right now, we are together. There is no Ron's Basement without you. I hope you feel like you found a home away from home, a new friend, a harbor in the storm. And hey, if you decide to contribute to my first cousin once removed's GoFundMe account for her rehabilitation, make sure you tell him you're from Ron's Basement. It is not at all expected, but very much appreciated. Have you heard of Jeffrey Gundlach? If you haven't, look him up. He is like the man. He is like no BS. He's highly respected. He's not a made-for-TV guru. He's a real guru. He's the CEO of DoubleLine Capital. And when this guy speaks, I listen because he is legit and on top of things. And recently, he had this to say. Let me read this to you. He said, gold at $1,800 per ounce, which is where we are fighting right now, has a role to play in a portfolio despite the Federal Reserve still pursuing its aggressive tightening policy. He said, I've been somewhat favorable on gold. Once it got to $1,800, it went quite a bit higher than that, but it's now come back down to $1,800, and gold probably deserves a role in a portfolio at the $1,800 level, even with the Fed being uber hawkish. And the next thing he tells us is that everybody now basically thinks the Fed's going to raise rates by 0.5 basis point in March, right? That's bad for the price of gold. The tighter the Fed is with money, the more they raise rates, the more the dollar goes up, the more rates go up, the more gold and silver go down. Look, the only thing that could throw a wrench into that would be the February employment numbers that are going to be coming out soon. But, I call BS. Well, how do you feel about this? I mean, at some point here in the near future, the reality of what we're experiencing on the ground is going to have to start being reflected in these numbers. It's a backward world that we live in now where we want bad employment numbers that would be good for the price of silver and gold. It's going to be interesting how it plays out, but don't we agree, like maybe, just maybe, things aren't as great out there in the economy as the government reports and all of their official data? Do you like animals? Who doesn't like animals, right? Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room because it's a massive elephant and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. That would be the upcoming debate this summer regarding increasing the debt ceiling. Not to mention the other giant elephant. It's almost like we got a zoo going on here, right? Which is the national debt. Guys, we are heading into the summer where there is going to be, it's going to come to a head. And I think Jeffrey Gundlach even recently said this as well. It's like, this is no longer your grandkids' problem. It's our problem right now. This national debt is real. This big debate that could really screw up things in the economy over raising the debt ceiling, it's going to be real. But the government alone, with these high interest rates, right? All the debt we have, $30 trillion, it's becoming exponentially more expensive for the United States government to service that debt. It's like if you've got a $300,000 debt and you're paying 3% interest, you're paying about $9,000 a year. If that rate goes up by 4 times, which essentially is what has happened to the interest rates, you go from paying $9,000 a year to, what would that be? $36,000 per year. Things could get interesting very quickly and could cause the Fed to have to loosen up very quickly. Doesn't it feel like, do you feel like the last 9 months or a year, like we've kind of been living in la la land again? Like nothing really has happened. Nothing has really broken. Things change, right? Don't things happen? And I could see the summer getting very interesting for the overall economy, right? As these high interest rates and the impact, the delayed impact they have, plus the debt ceiling, we could have a very interesting summer ahead of us. It could also be very interesting for the precious metals. One thing for sure, I'll be here for you through it all. I always appreciate you joining me here in the basement. I'll look forward to seeing you next time.